I'm going to call us back to order. So I'm going to call to order the part 2 of the Hingham School Committee meeting of June 22nd. I have to read the following statement for new folks who've joined the call. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the Town of Hingham in accordance with open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify me at the start of this meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that I may inform all other participants of said recording. So is there anyone on the line who, other than our host, Julie O'Halloran from the Hingham Public Schools, that is looking to record the meeting? All right, I don't see any. If anybody changes their mind, just let me know. A couple quick housekeeping things. For the call, we are in session. If you have a question or comment about an item on the agenda, you can raise your hand using the raise hand button under the participant list. If for some reason you cannot see that button or you can't get to it, just try to get my attention verbally. If folks could keep their phones on mute when they are not speaking, that is helpful to those who are listening at home and who are watching at home, so that we don't have screens lighting up except unless you're speaking. And then I have noticed that most of my fellow school committee members have identified themselves, their name, it's either says SC for school committee or spelled out school committee. So folks will know who on the screen is a school committee member. I think Dr. Ed is the only one who isn't designated as such, but Dr. Ed is also on the school committee. Great. So the first item of business is approval of minutes. We have 3 minutes to approve: 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. Does someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
If anyone would like to make that motion, I would appreciate it. I just have a little problem opening my agenda here. Actually, I should be all set. Hold on just 1 second. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting of the school committee meeting held on May 18, 2020.
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, and sorry, I'll go around. Ness Carenti? Libby Lewicki?
Aye.
Liza O'Reilly?
Aye.
I'm looking around here. Dr. Ed? Just give me a thumbs up. All right, Dr. Ed, it's a yes. Carrie?
Aye.
Carlos?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. All right, thank you. 4.2?
I move that we approve the minutes of the school committee meeting held on June 1st, 2020.
A second.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a proposed change, please.
Sure. Go ahead, Libby.
So on page 10, these are the longest minutes I think I've ever seen in my life. Under the community outreach, there's a sentence that says, I'm trying to find it myself. Libby Lewicki also announced that the Community Outreach Committee worked on a new logo for the Hingham Public Schools that will launch with the new website. So I'm proposing that we change "worked on a new logo" to reviewed several draft logos for Hingham Public Schools that were presented by Dr. Lavoie.
Okay, I can make the change if everyone agrees.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Give credit where credit is due.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for catching that.
With the proper amendments, so moved.
All right, thank you. If no further discussion, Ness Carenti?
Aye.
Libby Lewicki?
Aye.
Liza O'Reilly,
Aye.
Dr. Ed Schreier,
Aye.
Carrie Nee,
Aye.
Carlos De Silva,
Aye.
aye. Michelle Ayers, and I as well. Thank you. All right, one more set of minutes from June 4th. Carlos, you want to take the honor?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the school committee meeting held on June 4th, 2020.
I'll second.
I have a proposal.
Go ahead, Libby.
Okay, so on page 2, the vote for displaying the Philadelphia Pride flag for the month of June, it says that I abstained, and I certainly did not. I was an aye.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So the proper amendments, I'd like to move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Carlos. All right, if there's no further discussion, Ness Carenti? Aye. Libby Lewicki?
Aye.
Liza O'Reilly?
Aye.
Dr. Ed Schreier?
Aye.
Carrie Nee?
Aye.
Carlos De Silva?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. All right, thank you. The housekeeping minutes are approved. All right, at the beginning of each meeting, we offer a period for public comment. The Hingham School Committee encourages community engagement, and we welcome questions and comments as items are presented on the agenda. We have set aside 15 minutes at the beginning of this agenda for anyone in the public to bring up an item to the committee's attention that is not on tonight's agenda. So, is there anyone here tonight who wishes to make a comment or a question about something not on tonight's agenda? You can raise your hand. I see Carlos. You have your hand raised?
I do.
Okay. Carlos.
Michelle, in the beginning of the last few meetings, you have actually started the meeting by saying a very nice words of wisdom, words that truly highlight who we are as a school committee. And today, as this is your last meeting as our chairperson, I would like to extend my appreciation for your leadership and for everything you have done to bring us together and truly work as a team on behalf of our students, our staff, our community. You have shown to many of us what leadership, what is truly all about. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you. It has been a great honor to serve on the executive team with you. And I'm sure I'm speaking for many of us, but my colleagues also would like to express themselves and the show of appreciation for your great work. And we are honored that you have agreed to run for office again and serve another 3 years. We are looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carlos. I appreciate that. You're going to make me cry. Thank you.
Michelle, I'd like to be recognized.
Sure, Carrie, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say that I first came to know you when I was working on the campaign for one of your opponents the first time you ran for school committee. And I remember being so impressed by the way you conducted yourself as a candidate. You listened to and learned from people who had a wide variety of experiences in our school. Now that I've had the opportunity to serve with you on the school committee for the past 2 years, my respect and admiration has only grown. As chair, you dealt with almost every single challenge that could be thrown at a chair, from our first superintendent search in 17 years to a pandemic to the myriad of other challenges that come with this job. And you dealt with these challenges with grace, thoughtfulness, and with an even keel. You continue to listen to all stakeholders, to build consensus among our committee, and most importantly, to make decisions that were always student focused. I join Carlos in thanking you for your service as chair over the past 2 years and for all that you do for the Hingham Public Schools.
Thank you so much. This was wholly unexpected, so thank you so much. I really appreciate those words. Thank you. If I may, I was going to say something at the end, but I'll just it has been an honor to be the chair of this committee and to work with such amazing, committed volunteers. I think sometimes people forget that we're not only elected, but we're volunteer elected officials. this district is an amazing place to be. It's certainly not perfect, right? Everyone has room to grow and to learn and to change. But the leadership team, the staff, the faculty in the district are just top notch. And it's been a very wild ride for 2 years. I don't think I expected any of it to happen under my chairmanship. I'm sure no one on this Zoom call right now expected 95% of the things that happened to happen over the last 2 years. So thank you all so much. You folks were incredibly great to work with, and I appreciate all your support. And I truly was humbled by the faith that you showed in me. So I'm glad that I was able to help lead us for a couple of years, and I know whoever takes over next will keep us in good stead as well. So thank you, and whatever, I'll always be willing and able and available to help keep the Hingham Public Schools going in the right direction, because again, it's a fantastic district and we have a lot to be proud of. So thank you very much for those very, very kind words. I appreciate it. Is there anyone else who does not wish to embarrass me on this call tonight? I'd like to be recognized. All right, seeing none. So I'm sorry, I just want to point out one more time that tonight is Dr. Ed Schreier's last school committee meeting, though. So, and again, a heartfelt thank you to Dr. Ed for 9 years of service on the Hingham Public Schools School Committee. I mean, an unbelievable show of support and volunteerism for our community and our kids and our schools. So again, thank you, Dr. Ed. And of course, Pam King, our fabulous administrative assistant, superintendent's assistant. She knows where all the secrets lie. So she's also leaving us. June 30th is Pam's last day in the district. And we thank you so much for everything you've done, Pam, particularly for staying on this year and helping Dr. Austin as he transitioned into the role of superintendent of the Hingham Public Schools. It was very much appreciated and needed to help guide all through the workings of central office and to support the committee as well. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, with that, thank you again, everyone. We are going to move on to new business, which is 6.1. I wish we did not have to take up this resolution, but I'm glad that we are. And thank you, Carrie, and everyone who brought this forth. Item 6.1 is to discuss an anti-racism resolution and to act as appropriate. Carrie, do you want to walk us through the resolution?
Sure, yeah. So this comes from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees originally, and a number of other towns have signed on to this or a version of it so far. And there are several others that are scheduled to take it up in the next week or two. So it is the school committee anti-racism resolution, and it reads as follows. Whereas all schools have the responsibility to equip students with their civil right of obtaining a free and appropriate public education, it is the responsibility of each school to ensure we create a welcoming community for all students. And whereas it is the responsibility that every district provide to all district staff, including school committee members, annual professional development on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And whereas every district will commit to recruiting and retaining a diverse and culturally responsive teaching workforce. And whereas every district will examine their policies for institutional and systemic racialized practices and implement change with sustainable policies that are evidence-based. And where every district will incorporate into their curriculum the history of racial oppression, works by Black authors, and works from diverse perspectives. And whereas we as school district leaders can no longer remain silent to the issues of racism and hate that continue to plague our district, our public and private institutions, resolve that the Hingham Public Schools and all school districts in the Commonwealth must guarantee that racist practices are eradicated and diversity, equity, and inclusion is embedded in practice for our students, families, faculty, and staff. We must ensure our own school culture and that of every district in the Commonwealth is anti-racist and that acknowledges that all lives cannot matter until Black lives matter. And I introduced this, and I'm in favor, obviously in favor of signing it and also following up with action. Because we're living in a time where we're all re-examining our systems and our perspectives about race. And though it can be uncomfortable, a lot of us are finding that we have a lot to learn. It's clear that being not racist is not enough, because the systems that many of us relied on and never really questioned inherently disadvantage significant classes of people. So I think we should sign this for the following reasons. First, the resolution fits nicely with the equity work that our district started last year and is continuing. Second, the committee strives to keep the best interest of all students at the center of our decisions. We're calling on ourselves by doing this as school committee members and as a district to examine our own biases, policies, and systems, to have uncomfortable conversations and to make changes when we need to. We need to make sure we set up all of our students for success, including students of color. Also, there's been a lot of talk in the community about how, like our student body, our faculty and staff are very white. What people may not know is that over the past year, our administration has actively started to recruit teachers and staff of color. And the committee has supported those efforts. But hiring people isn't enough. As with our students, we need to ensure that our culture, systems, and policies set up our staff of color for success as well. To address the white elephant in the room, this is not political. Having these sometimes difficult conversations and addressing areas of race head on is in the best interest of all of our students, because the world does not look like Hingham. And we need to ensure that all of our students leave the Hingham Public Schools and go out into the world with the vocabulary to have these conversations and an understanding of the perspectives of people of color and of people with different backgrounds and experiences. In my view, by signing this and following through through action, we are telling our state and local leaders that equity and anti-racism is a priority for us as a district and should be for our state as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing this forward and for the context around it. I think, again, this is important. I think it is an important statement to make, but to your point, also needs to be followed up with additional action. Dr. Austin, I just wanted to ask, I know at the last meeting when we had raised bringing this to this school committee meeting, did you, I know I'd spoken to Dr. Labilois. I don't think he's on the call, but I know he had reviewed it. He had put together some information. I just wanted to see, was there anything from the administration that you felt needed to be added or clarified or in the statement, or were you? Sorry.
I was going to let you finish the statement. No, sure. No, thank you very much, Chair Ayer. I did share that with the administrative team. Overwhelmingly, they support it. I think the only question was raised, and it was, we want to make sure that people understand it. And part of what Dr. Labilois had said last week, that the equity team is together and making a lot of inroads on that and doing a lot of good work. There's a lot of good work being done around curriculum already being done, and the high school and all the other schools are taking some major steps and initiatives already, and they wanted people to know that it's not a matter of that we haven't done those things. I think we all understand there's a call to action is different, and we are certainly ready enough for that task. And so I applaud the work that the schools have done, certainly prior to my arrival and in the last year. And we do support the resolution as it's written. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other members on the committee want to speak to this? Sorry, just let me know. All right, if not, I can come back as well if people have more comments. Is there anyone from in the public or the audience that wishes to speak to this resolution that we are considering tonight? If you want to you can either raise your hand using a button, or you can just identify yourself. All right, I don't see any. And I believe that without any additional comments from members of the committee, we talked about this at our last meeting, and we were all supportive of it. I think it is a strong statement. I think it is a statement that needs to be made, and more importantly, needs to be followed up. And we need to hold ourselves accountable to make sure that we meet the criteria that we set out on some of the ways that we can combat racism in our public schools and in our communities. So if no one else has anything to add, I would accept a motion to approve this resolution on behalf of the Hingham Public School Committee. Carrie, do you want to make the motion?
Okay. Go ahead, Carrie.
I just needed to unmute myself. So I make a motion that the Hingham School Committee adopts the anti-racism resolution as read.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Carlos. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor. Ness Carenti.
Aye.
Libby Lewicki.
Aye.
Liza O'Reilly.
Aye.
Dr. Ed Schreier.
Aye.
Carrie Nee.
Aye.
Carlos De Silva.
Aye.
And Michelle Ayer is an aye as well. That is a unanimous passing of the anti-racism resolution. Thank you very much, committee, and thank you to our school leadership for your work in getting this work done on behalf of all of our students, to show them that the world does look very different than it looks in Hingham, and we need to prepare them for that. So thank you. All right, we will move on to item 6.2, which is to hear an update on the fiscal year 20 operating budget. So John, I think, and Paul, I will turn it over to you in a second. So this is the last meeting of the fiscal year 2020, which ends on June 30th. We, just for folks here at town meeting on Saturday, the fiscal year 21 school budget was approved, as well as the overall town budget, along with the financial plan that was put together. And just so folks are aware, currently there is expected to be a shortfall of well over $3 million in the fiscal year 21 budget for the town of Hingham. And the town is going to be taking those funds out of fund balance, the so-called rainy day fund, to support the operating budgets for the town and the schools. And the schools will be receiving 60% of that. So I think it's 2 point, sorry, Paul, is it 2.2 or?
Yeah, just in my head, I was thinking 2.1, 2.2 would be about. So I think it was $3.7 million roughly that the warrant article was for, and we can see kind of that. So
yes,
it's going to be pretty close to 2.1, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. So we will have many more conversations about the fiscal year 21 budget, including workshops and whatnot over the summer. But I did just want John to give us this, or Paul, to give the committee just that one last review of where we stand on the operating budget with, what do we have, 8 days left in the fiscal year.
We do. Thank you, Michelle. And I'll turn it to John. I know John has some things prepared, and he can start that. John, you're muted. Just, I don't want you to have to give it twice.
No, that would be good. Yeah. So what I'm just going to throw up the slides on the screen. Ness, I didn't know. Did you want to say anything from a finance committee perspective first, or am I just going to repeat what we did?
Yeah, I thought maybe you could go in and then I could chime in after. I can either chime in after, or I can go through when we're going through our subcommittee report.
Okay, I'll get then I'll go. I'm going to share the screen here then. So, Julie, can I share my screen?
Yeah, John, hold on, let me get you. Try now.
All right. Very good. Let's see. So we're probably here. Here we go. I think that's it. Does everybody see the summary page of the budget now? I hope.
Yes.
Okay, good. So make that a little bit bigger. So this is a budget. You're probably very familiar with the format. It looks like our summary budget in our budget book, and The columns up here is we have some, it says revised budget, but really that is the budget. The budget, regular budget and the revised budget are one and the same, except for later on that revised budget will come into play because as a result of Saturday's vote, the town will be transferring funds from the insurance account over $150,000 back to our budget. So it'll actually make our budget look better. But in this analysis, I've already taken into account that I'm going to be receiving that money so that you can be thinking about this in terms of the budget that you may see in your budget book, just our regular budget. It's not going to be, not showing, we're up, some $850,000 because of the fire and the flood. So you can, what we have here is this is the sum of the year-to-date expended, encumbered, and forecast. So what this column here means is basically we've already expended the money or the money's encumbered. And this report is as of the first time I gave the report was June 12th. That's when I pulled the report with that, which would have, entries made up probably till like payroll was only made till about June 5th. So there's still a lot of activity that will go on, especially at the end of the year when pays are going out and some pays are in lump sum, some pay is going to be extended over 4 periods. You have longevities, you have other stipends, you have a lot of things that are clearing out at the end of the year. So there's still some significant monies that haven't been expended yet. So the encumbered number may be somewhat greater. And then forecast, the forecast piece of that, that's my judgment. That's my understanding of other activities that may have happened within the district that we don't necessarily see in the budget numbers yet. And that could be because the transaction hasn't taken place. It could be some journal entries that have to move some funds from one place to another, like between revolving accounts or grant funds, or that have to come back to the budget. So I would make a number of forecast elements for that. So these two combined give us what our budget would be come June 30th, and then this available budget column is basically, how we would see that. How we would see at the end of the year if all of my forecasts and all of my encumbered things expended, where the budget would sit. So I'm not going to go over each one of these in individual detail, but we'll go down to the bottom here and you can see. So right now what I'm predicting is a negative balance of $140,000, which is not a very bad balance to have at this time of year, because what has to happen now and through the closing process, there's a number of open purchase orders that will end up getting closed out. There's some journal entries that we need to make to sort of recover monies for monies that were spent out of the foster extraordinary maintenance account, monies where we have to have journal entries for fuel that we purchased for the town would sort of come back to the budget, and then also some revolving account monies will get charged off against this. Some money where we have to charge a grant off as well. So, and then if you break this down, 98,000 is in the operating, 41,000 is in capital. The capital, we tend to book things to the capital because they truly are capital projects. But at the end, when I close this thing out, this capital money is going to equal just what the capital budget is, because I'll take this money and I'll throw it back into the operating budget, so that we have capital. But I mean, when we look at fixed assets, we want to include all of that capital in our fixed assets. So that's one view, just a summary view. So it says a negative 140. I'm expecting all of that to clear, and then I'm expecting that I'm going to have somewhere, in the range of like $60,000 to $100,000 left over at the end of this budget. A lot of it comes off the experience of seeing, what's happened year after year after year. It gets a little, those purchase orders sort of close out, that they're all going to close out. So that's what my estimate is at this point. This next sheet, what I've done here is tried to give you a little bit of insight as to why we may have some of the variances. And this one looks like a little bit of an eyesore to me. Does it? Presume it does to you folks too, but maybe we can
It's better.
make it a little bit better and see what's happened. So A100, that's this account. So, this is legal expenses. So you see a negative balance for legal expenses. This positive variance here with the teachers, or not teachers, but the education line. There's a number of things, most charges against that. Okay, so that would be a result of we saved some money on subs because we did expend subs really. And then we also have some Metco we don't really throw into the budget, but as we start to close out that grant, any money that gets teachers. I can see a positive variance here for like this line item, which is supplies. Which one's that now? Textbooks. Yeah. So, as soon as we started the closure, it's like, I basically put all expenditures on hold. There was no sense in ordering things and having them arrive in a building that didn't have any people in it or couldn't have people in it. Plus, too, it's like, I'm not buying things so we can just put them on a shelf, right? They had to get into service. So we put essential spending only controls in, so that would limit the amount of spending that would happen here. These two here, I think that's a psychology. So, psychological services and counseling services. That's just a booking entry where we charged the one account, we should have charged the other. That had to do with we charged the contract services for a position that we actually had in the budget. But it's just really a reverse of itself. When we look at the athletics here, this 203,000, there was no spring athletics. This 326 you see, so here's forecast the year end, okay? When you look at this 564, this will be, some of this are 310,000 of 564, if I go back up there, I'll explain that. That's 310,000 of roughly in that vicinity is full day K refunds, okay? Some equipment, I can't remember what all these little ones are, but this one here for transportation, gets me over athletics. This is offsets for Metco and for the co-ed assets. That's the athletic revolving account showing up. Other student activities is the middle school activities showing up. Utilities right now, they were when I did this. I gave this report to the finance committee last week. So that's the one that the full committee is seeing today as well. And at this time of year, all of these numbers continuously change as we are in the process of closing out POs. The utilities.
And John, there's a bunch of stuff that I gave the committee on our, so I summarized where we were at the end of analyzing this information that we're looking at now. Related to and then there was an off. We talked about its commit, back to the beginning of time. John is going to present us with summary, budget to actual summary every may not be as much going on in the first quarter. Certainly second, third, and fourth quarter, we'll be analyzing that and looking at anything that, any major adjustments, and we'll be talking on that and reporting on it. As John's closing things out and POs start to close out, we'll see a better picture in the next month. You know, we're a few days out, but still, as they're closing the books, it's another month and a half. So we're going to be looking at that in August at our next meeting. And then I can go through what we talked about. I summarized during our subcommittee reports our first two meetings, but in your packet you have detail of those meetings and what we specifically discussed. Some of the things that I wanted to highlight were that John was working on the traces lease that was going to be expiring, and we were talking about what we're going to be doing with that going forward. So he has extended that lease by a month, just as we kind of figure out where we are with school reopening. And then in our June 1st meeting, we talked about fiscal 21 is hard to know where we're going to be, given we are still waiting for the guidance from the state. So we're waiting on that. That's expected in the next day or so. So as we learn about that, we can then make adjustments to the fiscal 21 budget. Certainly timing of getting PPE has come up in our finance committee meetings, talking about technology. If we are in a hybrid model, then we'll need to figure out what technology needs the teachers and the students will have. So Dr. Austin's been working on that. Some of the shortfalls that we might experience is, depending on where things are when we open, is full day K. We don't know that, that brings in about $1 million a year. So if we are not able to open completely, then we won't have that $1 million coming in. Some of these questions will be answered as we get the guidance from the state. Last piece that I wanted to bring up was we have been talking about the amount of money that we were going to be sending back to the town. We had originally started talking about the $100,000 amount. As John has been closing out the books, we know that there are going to be technology needs, so we have been discussing not sending back as much, maybe sending back in the $60,000 range so that we can use some monies to purchase the technology that we know we're going to need. Liza and Carrie, I'm not sure if there's anything else that we should add from our finance committee.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to add that we did talk about turning to the town about whether we should purchase or something or not, but I thought we left it that it was such a small amount and John wasn't sure where it would actually fall, that we were better off returning it to the town because then it will be there if we do need it, as opposed to, and John won't know the exact amount to return to the town until maybe June 29th, if not after that.
Yeah, it'll be after that. I mean, it takes several weeks to close this thing out,
It's hard to commit to something when we don't know what we're purchasing yet, and we don't know how much we have left to spend.
Right. The purchase and the technology, that should be, for COVID related, should be covered by hopefully the South Plymouth County, fund. We would hope for that. But the way it gets balanced would be through the revolving accounts, really. It's like you decide whether you're going to charge things back or not charge things. For example, when you look up and you see that the traces is actually in here, right here, So is that trace is going to go to building revolving? I mean, that would be my plan, because that's what we said we're going to do. We're going to put it to building revolving. So either we do that and it loosens up that amount of money in the budget, or we don't do that. So, we had discussions early on. The last time I was sort of looking at that $100,000 mark when I took the first, wide brush at it, and thought that, that would be a reasonable figure to start looking at, because there's a lot of puts and takes in the entire budget. We are purchasing some PPE equipment, not the huge quantities that we have to, certainly not in this budget, but when you look at PPE in this budget here, it's like I've got about $50,000 that I'm putting into special ed, so Suzanne can do whatever she needs to do in the summer. We've started buying PPE at the beginning for like electrostatic guns and disinfecting schools and additional overtime, and and some product that we need to buy now. So we had like another $40,000 in there for that. The nurses are buying some stuff for, their particular needs for next year. So we have those monies reserved. They're sort of encumbered, or they're in my forecast numbers right now. So we intend to go forward and make those purchases. Are they going to be $52,000? Is it going to be $40,000? I'm not sure. Is it going to be more? I think that's adequate right now. Well, also we have to reserve for some other liabilities, for some funds for some settlements that may be in the works right now, and then also for some purchase orders and bills that will be sitting on desks when everybody returns to their office. Okay, we'll have to reserve a number of dollars for that type of thing. So I got more that I have to put in. I know that some's going to clear out, and it's one of these things where, when you close the school budget, you're sort of targeting an area where you want to get into, and then you'll use reserves as appropriate to try to get there.
Yeah. Well, the tricky part,
I wish it was smoother. I wish it was smoother, but the reality is it's not.
yeah, but the tricky part is too with the revolving accounts, that we are going to be in a predicament, given food services, KIA, full day kindergarten. We're not going to get the revenues in the fall and into the winter that we would typically have. So we can't really deplete those down to zero. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to restart those programs.
We're fortunate we had healthy balances.
So my understanding of our discussion and how we came to the $60,000 number was that we didn't want to touch the building revolving account, knowing that we're going to have a lot of capital needs, and we had to put up plexiglass shields or make some adjustments to the building. That was my recollection of how we got there.
Yeah, and the revolving we talked about doing going back and reviewing the revolving accounts in September, taking that on as a project so that we can review that in September before our budgeting session starts in October.
I think what I'm thinking is that, it does sound like we know we're going to have a number of unexpected and unanticipated expenses to resume learning in the fall, between technology and PPE. And I guess the only thing I'm thinking is it doesn't sound to me like $100,000 is going to, or $40,000 will be enough to cover any of that. So I wonder if
it's not going to matter. That kind of money, $100,000 is not going to matter. One way or the other, it doesn't. It's not going to matter. When you got a $60 million budget, what's going to matter for the 21 budget is what I'm talking about going forward. Is I'm not spending anything. I got a zero spend start. That's it. We're not spending anything. I'm holding all supply purchase orders. We're buying PPE. We're doing whatever. We're not going to be doing textbooks off the bat. We're not going to do anything off the bat. We're deferring all this capital. So, that's what's going to happen until we get visibility and know exactly where the budget is and what we have to do. I'm just not. That's where the money's going to come from. The money's going to come from the existing budget that we have, and we're just going to use it in different ways than what we planned to use it for. based on the budget. This $100,000, it's a drop in the bucket. You know, I wish it wasn't, but I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, I guess where I was going with that was thinking to myself that if the expenses that we potentially have that are extraordinary and related to ramping up either, learning in the fall and COVID-related expenses that the district will have to bear, is that if we give the 100,000 or whatever the number is back to the town, does that buy us some goodwill, for lack of a better word, and does it get us a, hey, we're giving this to you, but just to be clear, we may need it back. So as of June 30th, but when we look forward to what July, August, September might look like, we might need a piece of this back and then some. So, we're getting it back, but we may also need to tap into it again, plus ask for some more when it comes to those equipment type. Is that, it feels like
all of the money that we're either saving or giving back is going to help fund that fund balance of $3.9 million that the town is chipping in to make this budget work. And, so we have the visibility to see if state aid comes in at zero and there's not a lot of it, if state aid comes in exactly where we budgeted, there's nothing we can gear up as quick as we have to, and we get to go back to school and there's not a whole lot of expense concern. We can get right back to school and right back to business, right? But I don't think any of us really think that's going to happen, right? Not from where we're sitting right now with June 22nd. And September or August 31st is right around the corner. So that 100,000 is really there in the town, and we're going to work together. We already committed that we'll work together with the town. So that's going to help subsidize some of that, say shortfall, if any shortfall develops. But plus two, we will have some additional expenses. We don't know what they are, but the technology, right? We talked about the technology. Let's say $750,000. We hope that we get a reimbursement for that, but we can go out, by deferring, we go out with clear conscience knowing that we have a means to cover that. When we get that reimbursement, good. Hey, actually, we have that $750. Now we can free up and do some other things. It's more like a prioritization, really, of saying, when will we do this project? Well, if it's not broken right now, we don't have to do it. If I can defer that till October, November, December, then we get to see a better picture. And once we get the better picture, we'll be able to get a better handle on what the cost will be. Mm-hmm. And, we'll be able to manage accordingly. That, aside from taking the budget that we have and saying, okay, full force ahead, guys, let's go. We got our budget. We're good. I don't think that we can do that because we have to make sure 22 and 21 is going to come in on balance too, right? We could go to the town and say, oh, you got to give us another, give us another $1 million. So now that's $4 million, and that's going to repeat. That $4 million will repeat in 22. Mm-hmm. Because it's a revenue that's that would have to be made up and it would be incorporated into the base. So I really think that we need to proceed with caution. And I think that's what the financial plan between the school committee and the town was all about.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, Michelle.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that I understand what you're saying, and I think that part of this is that I'll just be honest. Ordinarily, I'm not one to say, "Oh, let's give back money," particularly when we are always saying, "Boy, what we couldn't do with $100,000, or what we couldn't do with an extra $150,000." I think though that this year was obviously, not to overuse the word, but extraordinary, right? So there were some expenses that we didn't have. There were some expenses that we did have that we weren't anticipating having. But if you feel that there was $100,000 that you didn't spend this year, that you really can't it wouldn't be prudent to spend right now because we don't know exactly what, like, if we don't have a plan for what to spend it on at this moment with a couple of days left in the fiscal year, then I think I'm okay in the returning of it to the town, but just with the caveat that we're highly likely going to need this back for something next year. So that's just my thought. So.
Yeah, no, and that's it. Like, you know, knock on wood. I hope that, you know, I mean, I hope that we don't need it back, but we will get, you know, if everything's good, we'll get similar funding next year. I know we have status quo funding. That's not too bad funding for this year. You know, if we can make a go of it, and you know, the reimbursements cover the technology that we need, and they're going to cover the PPE and all that other stuff. Great, we have status quo funding. We'll have a great year. You know, that's presuming, and then let's just say if state aid comes in better than what we anticipated negatively, that will even help additional, right? And then we can sort of like, you know, we can free up the funds.
Let me just ask respectfully, John and Paul, could you please try to have for us for the July 8th meeting whether we are ready to apply for some reimbursement from the county commissioners, or what's holding us because other towns are already getting the money. My understanding is that they have utilized part of the $1 million to purchase computers. So I'm not really sure what's holding us from sending the bill. The sooner, my understanding is the sooner we send the bill, the sooner we get the money on our account. So that is money that it has been already put aside. So this is not something that we are waiting to see what the revenue is going to be. This is money from the feds, and it's sitting there on the commissioner's account just to disburse. So if you guys could please come up with an answer for us by the July 8th of why we are not applying for that money yet and what's holding it, that would be greatly appreciated. One. Secondly, John, can you please go back and explain how much is the dollar amount that we are receiving from Cohasset for the M.G.L program? John?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Right. I'm trying to think of where that is, Carlos, because I don't have that in my head, and it's not necessarily on this sheet. So I'm trying to figure out where I got to go to look at that number. So bear with me for a second, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
And so everybody knows the M.G.L amount is the that Carlos is talking about is the transportation that Cohasset pays to us as we provide the transportation for the M.G.L students to and from Boston.
And thank you for clarifying that.
Which we did this year, which we won't do next year.
I think, John, that is right up. Is that part of transportation 1.7?
It is.
All right,
it is in transportation. Yep. I'm trying to see if I have the offsets here.
So I'm saying that M.G.L offset's not going to happen going forward, as they, for a couple of reasons, Cohasset is going to start using their own transportation because they've changed their start times, one, and two, we were starting to not have enough space for all of the kids, and then what transportation is going to look like in the fall, we definitely wouldn't have the space for them.
Just to further clarify for folks on the phone, though, because I know this has been coming up a bit in the community, that the M.G.L program is funded through state grants and through a M.G.L grant. So it is not, so these offsets and incomes that we're talking about are not, it's the M.G.L program is not funded through Hingham taxpayers. It is funded through a state grant. We just were working with Cohasset and providing transportation to their students, combining them with our students, and then those expenses were offset by a grant from the state, and then Cohasset was using their grant money to reimburse us for their transportation expenses.
So Carlos, the combination of those would be about $81,000 for the elementary runs and for the secondary runs. Okay, except for, we've given them a discount on the gas for the last half of the year. So, it's going to be somewhat less, probably going to be in the $65,000.
Thank you.
But we're spending 100% of the grant. So we still have the grant money there.
Ness, did you have anything else for the or newly created?
I don't. Well, there was a question about the dugouts, and we talked about that, the dugouts and the leveling, and that was specifically coming from the field gift account.
Right. So that's not really that's not in this operating budget.
Right. Is that happening though? Sorry, I had mentioned that. So that is outside of the operating budget. But is that project moving forward? Because I think we voted on that, didn't we, to expend the money to do that project?
Yes, we did. We voted to spend the money for the project. So we have the quotes for the leveling and for the fence, and we're trying to get the price for the dugouts so that we can see what the entire project looks like, because the initial couple of components went a little higher than anticipated. So we're trying to get the dugouts for a price that comes within budget.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on the fiscal year budget as John works feverishly to close the books on fiscal year 2020? And like everybody probably wants to put it behind him.
We'll get it
budget.
I mean, it'll get closed out. You see a negative 140, but it'll be positive by the time it gets closed, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a third sheet in here too. So you can kind of look at, this takes the budget and then shows the individual variances for the things that, in the same categories. Keep in mind, whenever you look at these numbers, there's 500 lines that are creating all of these numbers. Mm-hmm. And, they're somewhat relevant to the categories here. They fit rightly within those categories. But there's a lot of intricacies going on in a school budget. And they all sum up. I try to, put them down. It's okay, this is a personnel variance, this is a contract, or here's some energy and utility, here's some boat tech, here's capital. But then there's different variations of capital as well. So, but it provides some insight. This is a tool that I use because I'll go through this. Since I built the budget, I sort of know where numbers are, and I can see a number that would stick out and say, wait a second, what is this? And it helps me go to investigate what that is. So, while it may be relatively unintelligible to you, to me, this is where I go to say, okay, what's going on here? How can I figure out, wait a second, there's no reason why I should be over in personnel, or there's no reason why I should be over in certain areas, because, I budget those, we budget a lot of stuff right from zero, okay? And knowing the budget, this points me and says, hey, what's going on? And what you find is you find things are booked in the wrong place. Right, so purchase orders come in. You see the purchase order. You see the purchase. You don't always see the account that it's going to, or if you do see the account it's going to, you don't go back to this budget book to say, okay, it's this account here, because I'm approving 8,000 purchase orders a year. So you have to do this all at a real high management level, and then you come into an analysis and you look at, you look for clues on where you got to go research for more information. So that's your artificial intelligence, folks. It's right up here. I don't know what else to say, but so that's what this helps. So you can kind of look, I don't know if you'd be able to go through and imagine, okay, geez, I wonder what that is. But that's what I do. I wonder what it is. And most things, when I go through this, I know what they are. So, okay, yeah, I get it. like your summer personnel, it's positive. It's like, okay, coaches, right? You can see it. Because what happened. So that's how I go about analyzing the budget. So this is another tool that I've shared with the finance committee so that they can see. The other thing too, you see some numbers that aren't balanced. You see an article in there. That article was for the clear story windows a couple of years ago. So is when you try to make this intelligible to people that don't do this all the time, it's like, okay, here's an A account. That's not in our budget, but yet it shows up in our budget when you run a report. So, you could spend too long talking about what this $3,000 is. But it was the clear story windows, and the final closeout came from Habib. So that was the money, Habib's final bill. So, you got to normalize for a lot of things too.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Good luck closing up. Good luck closing up the fiscal year. No, thank you. I know it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of spreadsheets, obviously, and it's a lot of money to manage. So, and when you have so many variable costs like personnel and utilities, and then throw a pandemic in here that completely changed how you were delivering services to folks, I can imagine it was quite a bit more cumbersome than usual. So thank you. And
yeah, it's a lot of the energy. The energy offset a lot of the overages. When you look at this in special ed, we did have extra, expenses in special ed. So these, variances that we had helps offset some of those. But yeah, there's 500 lines that create these summary reports.
Well, thank you for that update. Appreciate it. And Ness, if you are good, are you good for your update on the?
Yep.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions or not, or should we move on to 6.3? Right, just not seeing any questions, so let's move on to 6.3, which is to review the process for the annual election of school committee officers, which is scheduled for July 8th, 2020. That is when the new school committee will sit. There are 2 seats coming up in this year's election, and the election of officers will occur at that meeting. So just for everyone's reminder, so this is item 6.3. The process for electing school committee officers is a self-nominating process. You fill in your name, you check the box what position you would like to nominate yourself for. There are 3. It is chair, vice chair, and secretary. And you also, so everybody needs to fill this out and send it in. So either send it in saying, I wish to be considered as a candidate for one of these offices, or I do not wish to be considered for any, and then drop it off. Isn't that quaint, from March of 2020? Look at me dating myself. Scan it to Julie O'Halloran before July 1st. And then at the school committee meeting of July 8th, we will have the officer elections. And at that meeting, to open the meeting, I guess it will be Ms. Liza O'Reilly will step in as the chair until a new chair is elected. Liza serves as the chair for the beginning of that meeting because she is after Dr. Ed leaves us, Liza will be our longest serving school committee member. So that will be July 8th. So again, send those forms if you wish to be considered for one of those positions. Actually, either way, send the form back to Julie just so she knows you either do want to be considered or don't want to be considered. Thank you. All right, moving on to 6.4 is to review proposed revisions to certain contract terms and extensions for other administrators and act as appropriate. So, Dr. Austin, I'll turn it over to you. There are several principals and some other leadership who are up for revisions to their contract terms. So, Dr.
Thank you.
Austin.
Just for the point of order, I wasn't sure if it was me or the chair of the salary negotiations, Liza O'Reilly. that was supposed to go tonight?
Yes, sorry. I just wanted to recognize you quickly, and then I was going to flip it back over to Liza.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Because Dr. Austin has worked on these, so I'll give it back over to Liza. Sorry. Thank you.
So, thank you. Dr. Austin has provided the school committee with his recommendations on these contracts and contract extensions, because it is the school committee that would approve any budget line items, but the contract and the contract decisions are negotiated with those individuals and with the superintendent directly. So, first, I will note that all of these contracts fall within the personnel budgets that we had, as a school committee, had approved and within the budget passed at town meeting. And we did, when reviewing all of them, we did consider the ranges of all the other staff, either, reporting to them, their peers, and the superiors of the individuals and benchmark communities as well. So first, we did have a discussion about, during this COVID-19 period and the pandemic, that our school district leaders, the administrative team, and the principals all had vacation time that they were eligible for. And with the closing of school from March 13th through the end of the fiscal year even, these individuals were not able to take their vacation time because of how busy they were. And so we're making a recommendation that Rick Swanson, Derek Smith, Melissa Smith, Elizabeth Wilcox, Mary Eastwood, Anthony Keaty, Suzanne Benish, John Ferris, Jane Lagawa, and Paul Austin will have their vacation time from this contract year that they did not take will be carried over as accrued, and that they can use that the days that were earned during this fiscal year 20 can be used in perpetuity, as long as they're with the district. And we felt that was very fair for them to be able to, at some point, enjoy that vacation time. And then as far as new contracts, we had 3 contracts that were up for renewal. First, Rick Swanson, and it was agreed to a 3-year contract with a total increase over those 3 years of 9%. Then Derek Smith, the middle school, we're granting a 1-year rollover to his current contract. That would have a 2% increase. And Melissa Smith, the Plymouth River principal, would be a 3-year new agreement with a total increase of 7%. And then we had 3 contracts that we had to identify salary payments for their terms. And first we have Suzanne Dennis, our Director of Student Services, and she would be granted a 3% increase that also includes her stipend of $1,000 for her doctorate degree. And Beth Wilcox, who would be provided a 3% increase, an equity adjustment, as well as $1,000 for her doctorate, a stipend. And then, in addition, Beth Wilcox will be receiving an annual $5,000 stipend for additional work on the foster school project. And that additional stipend would be part of the foster school project budget, and is comparable to what was done for the principal of the middle school when the middle school was rebuilt as well. And then for Paul Austin, we are extending his salary for a 2-year period with a total increase over those 2 years of 5%. And then we also are including a 2% per year tax sheltered annuity. And the annuity payment is something that is part of standard superintendent contracts, and also then puts him comparable on our benchmark communities to being above the middle of the range as is standard for Hingham practice. So that is a summary of these individual contracts. And the school committee has reviewed all of these and discussed them in 2 different executive sessions. So everyone is well aware of the details of this. So with that, I will make a motion to put this on the table, that the school committee accept the contract recommendations and contract extensions that the superintendent has outlined in his negotiations memo dated June 22nd, 2020.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Carlos. Any discussion amongst the committee? Seeing none, I will take a vote. Ness Carenti.
Aye.
Libby Lewicki.
Aye.
Liza O'Reilly.
Aye.
Dr. Ed Schreier.
Aye.
Thank you. Carrie, me.
Aye.
Carlos De Silva.
Aye.
And Michelle Ayer is an aye as well. So here we go. Unanimous vote again. Thank you very much. Thank you to our leadership team, or all of you, but especially those on tonight who are having their contract renewed. And again, thank you for all of the work over the last several months. It is not unrecognized. We're sorry that you were not able to take vacation time. That is always needed, particularly during stressful times such as these that we are in. But we hope that you can at least use these for another day when travel is allowed and people can go visit people. So thank you. All right. That is item 6.4. So that leaves us with what was originally the only purpose of tonight's meeting, but it's a bit of a longer meeting because we had so much business to attend to before the end of the year and before the end of the committee's year. So item 6.5 is to conduct the annual evaluation of the superintendent of the Hingham Public Schools. So this is Dr. Austin's first public evaluation, not only in the Hingham Public School District, but ever, because in Maine, they are kind people there, and they don't make you do this in public. So.
Very true. They're kind here too, though. I want to be clear. They're kind here too.
This is different kind of time. So, the evaluation is a very long, 11 pages with a lot of check boxes and check marks, but I'm going to read just sort of an overall summary of the evaluation, so I won't read every detail of it. But there were 3 goals that Dr. Austin was measured against, and these goals were determined jointly between the school committee and Dr. Austin when he took on the role of superintendent. The goals are measured against performance standards, and each of those standards have indicators that we use to measure Dr. Austin's performance toward his goals. Given that 2020 school year was interrupted, this was a little bit of a challenging evaluation to do, just because there was, do you do it just up to March? Do you do it towards everything? But overall, we found that given up until March, when the unexpected closure of the schools occurred, Dr. Austin was making significant progress towards all of his goals. So under the first standard, which was instructional leadership, which is to promote learning and growth of students and staff and cultivate a shared vision for the district, we found that Dr. Austin's vision for the district to ensure equity of achievement for all students was clearly communicated and cultivated among district staff. Prior to the building closures, Dr. Austin Dr. Austin's visible presence in the school buildings was positively noted by students and staff and reflected his commitment to engagement with all district shareholders. We do acknowledge that the unexpected and unprecedented 3+ months closure of school buildings significantly impacted the effective delivery of learning to students, particularly for students with special education needs and services, vocational students, and other vulnerable populations. But overall, for these reasons, an overall rating of proficient was assigned for Instructional Leadership Standard. Standard 2 was Management and Operations, understands and complies with laws, mandates, policies, and ethical guidelines. Under this standard, Dr. Austin undertook significant work required of the new superintendent induction program, which is a voluntary program which Dr. Austin signed up for. And this was actually really instrumental in bringing Dr. Austin up to speed and giving him a thorough understanding of Massachusetts education laws, mandates, as well as DESE regulations. Dr. Austin was highly engaged with the work of the school committee policy subcommittee in advising and reviewing the important work of updating district's policy. And they noted, or we noted, that Dr. Austin's experience with the National School Board's policy coding and standards was really valuable to the committee as we were reviewing past practices and comparing them to other districts. We note that more progress needs to be made in ensuring full compliance with state and federal special education laws, regulations, and guidance to improve and to meet the needs of struggling students and ensure that all students have equitable access to the curriculum and school resources. For these reasons, an overall rating of proficient was assigned for Management and Operations Standard. Standard 3 was Family and Community Engagement. I think that one speaks for itself. Dr. Austin's engagement with the community prior to the pandemic quarantine and social distancing requirements was outstanding. His visible presence in the community was clear, consistent, and balanced. His frequent visits to school buildings and classrooms was noted and appreciated. His attendance at athletic, academic, and artistic events showed his commitment to all students. And his engagement at community events such as Historical Society offerings, the Hingham Unity Council Inaugural Forum, the recent George Floyd Vigil, various Metco events from a Thanksgiving potluck to an ice cream social to a recent anti-racism gathering in Hyde Park, really highlighted Dr. Austin's commitment to understanding the traditions of the town of Hingham while considering how we can move forward toward an equitable future. Dr. Austin implemented a well-rounded student advisory committee to provide students with regular and consistent access to the superintendent to voice their perspectives. And the community newsletter that was started in the fall was well received by families. And overall engagement prior to the pandemic was exemplary. The sudden evolution of the pandemic did highlight the need for a comprehensive district communication plan, as Dr. Austin was inundated with emails, calls, and communications from concerned families and community members. The committee noted that Dr. Austin maintained daily communiques with district staff, and those were really key in maintaining positivity and connectivity amongst the staff. Based on community feedback, there was some inconsistency in responsiveness from central office, and while the committee understands this is a result of serious understaffing in the administrative offices, it doesn't reflect any sort of disregard for family concerns or questions. But it is vitally important that an effective and robust communication plan be implemented so that communication with families can remain a high priority for the district. For all of these reasons, an overall rating of proficient was assigned for family and community engagement. Standard 4 is professional culture. The indicators here were high standards in teaching and learning, strong communication skills, and constructively resolving conflict and building trust. Dr. Austin's commitment to student achievement is evident in every interaction. His consideration of the needs of students is uppermost in his mind and guides the culture of the district. While there is significant work to be done to improve achievement among vulnerable populations, Dr. Austin has fostered an environment of candor, collaboration, and high expectations for staff. While some initial toe stepping is to be expected as Dr. Austin and his leadership team build their professional relationships, we note that Dr. Austin is frequently given high marks by his team for his compassion, his empathy, and dedication. Dr. Austin deals with conflict in a measured, composed, and efficient manner to ensure swift and amicable resolution so that all parties can move on with the important work of the district. Communications are consistent and regular and set a warm and inclusive tone reflecting Dr. Austin's own nature. We are particularly pleased with the strong relationships Dr. Austin developed with town hall staff and elected and appointed officials. While warm and good-natured, Dr. Austin is also firm and persuasive, and this combination has resulted in collaborative and mutually respectful relationships with the town administrator, chief of police, public health officer, advisory committee, board of select persons, school committee, and many others in town, which has led to improved communication, enhanced understanding of the unique needs and challenges of our schools, and new ways of sharing resources. Of particular note is the successful negotiation of the revised financial plan that required an incredible amount of trust be placed between all stakeholders, from the town administrator all the way through town meeting. And we really felt that this was a noteworthy achievement for a superintendent with less than 1 year in the district. For these reasons, an overall rating of Proficient Plus was assigned to professional culture standard. So in summary, taking on the role of superintendent in the footsteps of a leader with 56 years of tenure in a new state with different mandates, laws, and educational requirements in a high-achieving district with an already established leadership team is a job filled with challenges and the best of days. Dr. Austin made great use of his initial 8 months in the superintendent role by establishing trusted relationship with key stakeholders and with his peers in neighboring and benchmark districts, by being visibly engaged in the community, by communicating regularly and effectively with students, families, and staff, by committing to the new superintendent induction program, and he garnered high marks from leadership on his compassion, empathy, and respectfulness. As we entered March 2020, Dr. Austin was well on his way to meeting most, if not all, of his year 1 goals. With the onslaught of a global pandemic forcing the closure of our school buildings, Dr. Austin had to pivot his attention to launch a remote learning plan, implement changes to facilities to ensure the health and safety of the entire community, develop and build consensus for a financial plan to mitigate potential impact on revenues, and maintain communication with staff and families, and also continue collective bargaining negotiations, which were going to be instrumental in getting us back and staying in school in the fall. The challenges brought forth in this extraordinary time disrupted the planned work of the district and placed a tremendous burden on a newly hired superintendent, his leadership team, and the entire district. The Hingham School Committee cannot stress enough our gratitude to Dr. Austin for his leadership, his honesty, and his calm demeanor through this extraordinary time. And for all those reasons, the committee has assigned an overall rating of Proficient for Dr. Austin's 2020 school year performance. So thank you, Dr. Austin. And so folks are aware just that is the evaluation is a cumulative evaluation. Each member of the committee submits an individual evaluation, and that is consolidated into this document that the chair puts together and presents to Dr. Austin. So this was a document created by all of us and input into this one. Did anyone from the committee have any questions or comments that they want to add? I need water now because I just talked a lot. So sorry.
I'll add. Thank you, Paul, for it's been quite the year, and it has been a pleasure and an honor to get to know you as well. And I feel like I've known you for much longer than a year. So it's hard to believe we've already come to 1 year, but it's also hard to believe it's only been a year. So I just have to say thank you, and Michelle, you did a great job summarizing what I didn't see what everybody wrote, but it reflected well of what I was thinking, and I appreciate that. And so thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. We made it through, Dr. Austin. Oh, Ed, sorry, do you have something? Oh, I'm sorry, Carlos.
Dr. Ed, go ahead.
Paul, just a sincere thank you for a really significant job on a very, very difficult time. Good luck going forward, and I'll say a prayer for you all.
Thank you, Dr. Ed.
I just want to echo what Liza and Michelle said. Thank you, Michelle, for summarizing it well, our evaluation. I believe Dr. Austin received a very good evaluation at town meeting, where a member of the advisory got up and said very nice words about his, way of, his leadership. I just want to say that as a member, one of the 15 members of the search committee, you really hope that, that candidate that you brought forth will do well and will honor everything that he or she said. And I'm very happy to say that Dr. Austin have actually, outperformed and has done unbelievable. So for that, keep it up with the good work, and otherwise, I won't let you go back to May. Thank you.
Thank you. May won't let me in anyway, so it's all right.
Luck with us now.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, if no one else has anything, Dr. Austin, you've survived your first public evaluation. So thank you for sitting through that. I know that is probably not a very easy thing. I certainly would not want to climb public.
Do you mind if I just think for a second? Thank you. First of all, thank you to the school committee for taking the time and a very thoughtful process. I know you've taken this very seriously, as I have, and I've appreciated all the feedback, the support for the year, the support for the district, the amount of work you do. I want to say thank you. Like Liza had mentioned, I can't believe that a year has gone by, and yet for some reason it feels like 10. And I think that COVID-19 in the middle of that has something to do with it. But it has been it's been an interesting transition, to say the least, in a very different state with some very different rules and a pace that's about 10 times faster than I'm used to. But I caught up to speed, I think, and I just thank you for all you've done. I also want to thank the community for their feedback, for their support, and some honest, constructive criticism that I think is so important for me to learn. I'm always interested in that, and I want to communicate to the community that I'm incredibly dedicated to improving my craft, to improving my job as superintendent, to ensuring that every student that comes to Hingham Public Schools gets exactly what they need. So when they leave, they're ready to take on the world for whatever endeavor they have. That's my commitment to all of you, and I won't rest until that's done. I would also say I am blessed. The community is blessed for some wonderful students that we have. They are truly a gift to all of us, and I've enjoyed getting to know so many of them as I've gone across the district. Spending time in classrooms, watching them in the theater, watching them at the concerts, watching them on the athletic field, seeing them in just so many different ways. I just feel incredibly blessed to be part of this district. I can't say enough about every one of our staff members. We are truly blessed with incredibly dedicated and talented individuals at every single level, in every single building, and in every single job. This could not be done without incredible support staff, with outstanding and dedicated and talented teachers, with incredibly talented and dedicated administrators and principals who spend so many hours beyond a normal 8-hour per day, ensuring that the students of Hangin get exactly what they need. I thank them for all their support and their hard work. For it's because of them that this district does so incredibly well, along with the support that it gets from the students and communities. So I thank them. I thank all of you, and I'll wait until next year. So one more year. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so no, great words, and really do, as we wrap up the 2020 school year, a huge thank you to the district staff, the faculty, the leadership team. This is definitely one for the record books. I saw a funny little meme the other day, and it was a student in 2020 learning about 2020 history, and it said highlight all the important things that happened in 2020, and the kids just highlighting the entire year. So I think that's going to be very very accurate. So thank you to everyone. We have a lot of work to do over the summer, unfortunately, but I know everybody here is up for the task, and appreciate your leadership and your time. And unless anyone has something under 48 hours, that is a wrap of the fiscal year 2020 school committee as well.
Hey, Michelle, it's Josh. Can I just say something real quick on behalf of the PTOs?
Absolutely, yes.
So, Joshua Ross, 125 Wampatuck Road. So clearly there's a lot of momentous stuff going on tonight. So I just want to, on behalf of all the PTOs, thank Pam, who I did not know was retiring. So she's thank her for her work in communicating with us all the time over the last few years, and she will be missed, and good luck in her retirement. And Dr. Ed, I wasn't here last week, so when I first started going to school committee meetings, usually the only thing I heard from Ed was to second a motion, and it was usually to end the meeting. But as I sat through the meetings and Ed spoke, it was usually when he did speak up, it was very poignant and very important, and people listened. So thank you for your 9 years of experience and leadership on the committee, and you will be missed. And we would also like to thank Michelle for her 2 years of chair. She was never hesitant to reach out to us when she needed information or an opinion on something. So thank you for your work, and the town would be lucky to have you for another 3 years. And to Dr. Austin's first year, year and a half, because technically I think he started working the night after he was told he got the job. I remember meeting with him. It was probably like a week later. He was in Hingham, learning all about the culture. So thank you for always being there. And one quick story. So you guys know that I take a lot of pictures of the games. And so one of the basketball games this year, I was on the court, and there had to be two girls behind me who were maybe in third grade, if that, and saw Dr. Austin across the court and said, "Oh, look, there's Dr. Austin," which I thought was amazing for, elementary school kids to know who the superintendent was. So congratulations to you. And, as you guys look into the fall, I think the PTOs will play a big part in some of the changes with the budgets and some of the curriculum stuff. So, we look forward to working with you guys in the future, and have an excellent summer if you really have time off at all. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Josh. That is really appreciated. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, who would like to make a motion to adjourn? I think it has to be Dr. Ed.
I was unmuted. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Dr. Ed. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
I'll take it. All those in favor: Ness Carenti.
Aye.
Libby Lewicki. Liza O'Reilly.
Sorry, I'm an aye.
Aye. Right. Dr. Schreier.
Aye.
Carrie Mead.
Aye.
Carlos De Silva.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well.